right. Streets and Scholars, Alex Alonso and FG, aka Frank Thornton, bringing you guys another banger. And yeah, man, our last several episodes have just skyrocketed in terms of the interest, the listenership.
I mean, hey man, we over here doing what we doing, man. You know what I mean? And people tapping in, we really appreciate it. Keep doing that, But shit, we on fire over here.
And I've learned that the number one thing in a successful podcast, the number one thing is consistency. And you've been very consistent because I wasn't sure how serious you was going to be about this.
Right.
A lot of people say they want to do it, but then they can't do it. They don't do it. They get tired of doing it. But man, we're on, I believe, the 25th episode, man, and you've showed up each and every time.
Oh, no doubt. But don't get me wrong. You're giving me so much perspective, especially with the way, like you say, you lay it out there, So I appreciate the way that you make sure that we on point, you know what I mean? So we can keep fire episodes for the people, man.
Yeah, I was reading that the average podcast quits after like the 6th or 7th episode.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
And that's one of the reasons why some people aren't successful at it, because they can't stay consistent.
Well, no, we definitely going to bring the heat, you know what I mean? As long as something going on out there that we have an opinion about or a feeling about, we definitely going to tap in with it and share it with the people, man.
Yeah, definitely. Let's get into this one issue that we've talked about before regarding these January 6 rioters that, they turned it up. What year was that? Was that just last year? 2021.
Yeah,
2021, January 6 rioter. We talked about the very first dude that decided I'm taking it to trial.
No doubt. Guy Reffitt. Guy Reffitt. What I mean? And he took it to trial, and I've been waiting to see how it's going to turn out for him. We both even stated in one of those episodes about how much time we thought he might get. I said 15, you said 9, and what happened?
I believe he got 7.25 years, 7.25 years. I believe that's 80. The feds always give out sentencing in months.
Right.
And I think he got sentenced to 80 something months.
Yeah, he got 7 and some change and damn near 8. But yeah, you was on point with that one.
Yeah, man. It's just it was just an educated guess. I don't have no insight. I don't know Guy Reffitt. I don't know the attorneys.
Right.
Just looking at the sentences, the charges, the convictions, And I actually, to keep it real, I looked at race also. I didn't feel like they was going to max out the good old white boy.
No doubt. I thought they was going to make an example of him just based on for other people don't try that shit again and take the deal. But when you go back and look at, man, 7 years of some change for a person who was not a regular criminal, who's not a street dude, that's a long time. After I thought about it, that's still a long time, man. For you to have to go do 6 years away from your family and this is not the life you're about, that's a nice little chunk of time to go do.
I feel it is a chunk of time considering he's 49 years old. If he was like a 20-year-old youngster, I'd be like, man, go walk that off.
Man, I still say it's a long time, man.
Yeah, even for a 20-year-old?
Yeah. Based on the crime, you know what I mean? And like I say, 6, 7 years, man, 5 years, 4 years, 3 years is a long time when you go sit down somewhere and you from your family. But I think sometimes we are conditioned to think that we got a good deal based on, because we psychologically proven to believe that, us as black men is going to get a lot of time anyway. So,
well, I don't have no sympathetic feeling for any of these dudes from the January 6th riot because, we've been seeing people get away with crimes, especially like middle class white folks, white collar criminals get a slap on the wrist. I know there are examples of people getting stretched out, but the thought on social media was that all these people were going to walk. No one is really going to be held accountable because this is America. These people that ran up in that building represent America. And because they represent the heart of America, there's no way that judges across this federal system is going to, give anyone any sort of time. So I'm actually elated. You know how we often say we don't wish no time on nobody, but I'm actually elated that judges felt that, yeah, these people need to go to prison.
Well, you don't forget though, a lot of people got sweet deals. A whole lot of people, and he bucked the system. He made it, a lot of them would have swept it under the rug and we wouldn't have knew how much time nobody kind of really got. He bucked the system. He wanted to go to trial. He wanted to, see what he can do with trial. So they definitely was going to make some sort of example out of him. And But at the end of the day, you know, if he would have took his deal, he might have been home in a year or two. This is what the feds do. You make them go spend $500,000 going to trial. They're going to make you pay for that.
Definitely. And what's interesting is that the prosecutors in this case actually asked the judge to give him the 15 years, the original sentence that you thought he was going to get. Just imagine if he actually did get sentenced to 15 years.
Man, that'd have been a lot of times, but I'm going to be honest with you, the shit they did was some high power shit. You know, y'all ran up in the Capitol, you know, and that's supposed to be a sacred place for as an American, you know, and they violated that, and it just seemed like you would have got a lot more time for that than you was for, you know, say 50 grams of crack or some stuff like that, you know.
Well, he got the longest sentence thus far given to the over 700 people who have either been prosecuted or took deals.
Now, wasn't somebody shot in this situation?
Yeah, the woman from San Diego, the army chick.
Yeah, exactly. The ex-military female.
She was killed by one of the Capitol Police, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, whatever happened to that? But you just cleared that up for me. Yeah.
But also a couple of the Capitol Police that were fighting with people like Guy Reffitt, they ended up dying after the fact, like later. Shit. But we're not sure if it was related to the attack because they didn't die the same day.
Right.
They died a few days later. So, but they never linked Guy to any of those attacks of the officers.
Right.
But he did bring a gun onto federal property, and then he decided not to take the deal. So I feel like he got everything that he deserves.
Oh, no. I mean, you know, I'm not saying that he didn't. I'm just saying that, you know, he could have got, if he would have took that deal, he probably would have been home sooner.
And he got 3 years paper upon his release.
Hey, you know, shit.
So this is really like a 10-year, at the end of the day, it's a 10-year sentence, right?
At the end of the day, he's going to have to deal with them people 10 years, man, you know, but somebody else is going to trial on that case. So I'm wondering, is they going to say, hold on. What's that deal again?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let me get that.
There's been a couple of these fools that decided, hey, like you said, maybe they was listening to Guy Reffitt's wife.
Yeah, and try to go to trial, but that ain't always a smart thing to do, you know, especially when you're messing with the United States of America, because it's hard to beat them, man. And
on top of the 3 years paper, he's got to pay a $2,000 fine, which is probably nothing, right?
Right, no doubt, you know what I mean? But like I say, 6 years, man, he going to be on the hook.
Now the additional 3 years paper, since you actually went through that directly, what is that like? Is it almost like you're free, but you're not completely free? What is the conditions?
To be honest with you, you know, still on the parole officer, you know, your probation officer, what kind of person they are, you know. My probation officer, because I was in trucking, she wouldn't let me move far at all. She banned me from counties. You know, I couldn't really do nothing opposed to the homie got out, and he was able to leave out of the state, go do trucking immediately. So I don't know what their criteria is or how they keep the reins on you or how they let the reins off. It could be probation officer by probation officer, but it wasn't really strict if you live in a regular American citizen life. If you going to work, coming home, taking care of your family, just like we do now, I don't look over my shoulder as much as I used to. You know what I mean? You know, so when you doing regular stuff, you know, you not worried about it. Now, when you still trying to wiggle and do something here or there, or, you know, then you kind of worried about what's going on with the PO. Other than that, you're not even worried about them.
So you're saying that Drew had a more, I guess, lax PO, and he was able to leave the county without any issues?
Yeah, Drew probably was able to move around and do what he wanted to do. You know, my PO per se, she had me locked. She told me I couldn't go to San Diego County, couldn't go to Santa Barbara County, and then for a minute she banned me from LA County, you know. And I was like, you know, some bullshit, but at the same time, never cried about it. I just wiggled around it. Now, don't get me wrong, you know how this shit go. You don't have a tracking monitor on me, you know, so it's basically like, I better not get caught in none of these counties, you know, I better not get a ticket in none of these counties.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But, you know, I wasn't no saint. I'm going where I'm going, you know.
And I'm assuming that most people who are not under a tracking device are going to just say, okay, PO, whatever you say, wink, wink, nod, nod, and then you in San Diego, Santa Barbara, or wherever you want to go.
No doubt.
Las Vegas.
It meant Vegas, you know. You know, and just be smart. But at the end of the day, like I say, it's really based on you. The federal, I believe it's harder to be on state probation or parole than it is to be on federal, because the feds will really just let you hang yourself. They'll let you get so lax that you kind of forget you even on probation. And then you mess around and do something, boom, there they go right there. So it's not hard at all. It's one of the hardest part is just remembering that you own this shit. You know what I mean?
Now, if you do say, all right, I'm going to Vegas for the weekend, I know I'm on this paperwork, but fuck it. When you're in Vegas, are you extra cautious of, all right, I don't want to get caught up here. I don't want to get in this fight over here. I'm just here to have a good time. Or do you not even thinking about none of that stuff?
Well, see, now you're back to criminal thinking, on a small level. Because basically, you're going to go check in the hotel. You're not going to use your ATM card. You know what I mean? Whoever's with you, your girlfriend, your cousin, they're going to have to book the rooms. You're going to be very smart about it. The rental car not going to be in your name. You're going to start thinking along these lines. I'm definitely not finna use my debit card at the, the shops at the Luxor. You know what I mean? Because this can come up on my bank statements if they ever wanted to just look at my bank statements after a payday or something like that, because they do have the right to do that, So, you'll just be smart about it, maybe not drive per se up and down the strip. Case a ticket comes, somebody else to get the ticket, it wouldn't be in your name. But you have POs that just say, man, wherever you want to go, let me know. You know what I mean? I was denied to go to a family reunion, and I just didn't feel there was no reason. Now, afterwards, she started letting me go different states trucking. I was able to go to Salt Lake City because that was one of my routes. I was able to go to North Cali. That was one of my routes. Phoenix, and basically she had got to the point to say, well, just write down the states that you're going to go to and let me know. The homies was just, they PO just told them, hey man, just check in every month and keep your nose clean, and it was that simple, and I didn't feel I gave her no reason to, trip on me, but maybe it was something in my file to say, keep an eye on this dude. I don't know.
Did you ever address her and say, look, I know a lot of the people that are on paper right now, and they're able to do whatever they want to do and go wherever they want to go. Why are you tripping on me?
Well, you know what? I done put the terms, why you tripping on me, because kind of technically she wasn't, you know what I mean? I had other people, which I found out that had her previously years ago, and that's how she ran her program. It wasn't, come to find out it wasn't so much just me, but at the same time, don't forget, I was a business owner. I was a property owner. When they feel that you're not a dummy, you know what I mean, they're going to kind of tighten up on you a little bit because they know you got the brain cells to get past them. You know what I mean? But when I wanted to open up a business, she said, you can open up any business you want, long as I could see the money trail and stuff like that. Hey, have at it. So she didn't stop me from everything. And then after a while, she didn't even didn't, like you say, she got to call me, hey, look, by my job, I got to see you. She'll meet me in the street, meet me somewhere, but okay, I saw you. And that went on for the last for years, but one thing she wouldn't do is let me off paper. They had the law where they was cutting people paper. She wouldn't put that paperwork in to release me early too. When some of the homies was filing that motion, getting their paper cut because the laws was changing, she made me walk the whole 5 off.
Damn. No shout out to her.
Right. None whatsoever.
And she might be listening.
Hey, she could be, but at the same time, hey, I made it, It could have helped me in other words, because sometimes when you know that you got somebody looking over your shoulder, you tend to do better. And let me reiterate, sometimes that probation helps. Sometimes that parole helps, because it stops you from just jumping out there doing some things when you got a type of personality like mine, So I'm going to be honest with you. Some people like me need some kind of constraints, in their life. I have a wife now. So once again, I have, some constraints in my life, what I mean? So, but it's all good shit.
Well, maybe Guy Reffitt could tap in and he'll know what he's going to have to deal with after his release, because he's going to have to deal with this for 3 years. And, he actually ended up getting his sentence is a record. The guy, there was a guy before him that received 5 years, which is, what's that, 60 months?
Yeah.
60 months because he was involved in assaulting one of the Capitol officers with a fire extinguisher. But now Guy Reffitt his sentence outdoes him. So he holds the record now for all the January 6 rioters that have been sentenced to prison.
No doubt. And his appeal rights are still open since he did go to trial. So, you never know. He may appeal something, and one day we might not even realize that a motion was granted and he come home.
Well, I'm going to keep on it, but I was gonna look him up. I'll look him up in a second. But let's talk about this Mozzy.
Oh yeah, man, my favorite rapper.
Now, you've said on this podcast, Streets and Scholars, and at least 2 other episodes, that the gun is an automatic 5-year sentence.
Right.
But I believe what you meant to say is if it's used in the course or the commission of a crime.
Right. I misspoke on that because most of the people that's coming in wasn't just for simple firearm possession. You know, most of the guys who was coming in had a gun on top of their something else, their bank robbery, their drug dealing. So when you have the 924C, the 924C states that it is a mandatory minimum sentence under federal guidelines if you using the gun in any kind of, even if it's a possession with drugs, because they saying you using the gun to protect the drugs. If it's a bank robbery, of course, you know, you use the gun in a bank robbery. So if you use a gun in the commission of a crime, it's definitely, you know, or in possession while you're doing a crime, is definitely a 5-year, 60-month mandatory minimum. Now, if you have the 922G, the 922G is the simple possession, the crossing state lines with a firearm, or the unlicensed sale of a firearm, then that sentence is punishable of not more than 10 years. So the judge can have discretion to give you what they want to, but just not more than 10 years. That's how it's actually read. And I did misspoke when I said that it was an automatic 60 months for every federal gun crime.
So the 924C is the lesser offense, right?
No, it's not the lesser offense. It's used in the commission of a crime or with another crime. Say if you have drugs and you have the gun, if you're doing a robbery, you have the gun. If you're doing any kind of federal crime and you have the gun, it's mandatory 60 months. Yeah.
So what was Mozzy's gun?
Mozzy had a possession. You know, now I don't know if he might have had some little weed or something on it, but Mozzy had a possession. I believe he was out here in California and they caught him with a pistol. How it went federal, I don't know. They just might have decided to pick it up. Maybe he was on post office property. I don't know. I didn't dig that deep into his case, you know, because this happened last January 21 actually is when Mozzy got caught with that firearm. And so they went on and gave him the year and the day.
Yeah, he was. It was a traffic stop in Culver City back in January 21. So that's definitely not federal, right? A traffic stop?
Well, you know, true, but you know the feds can pick up all gun crimes. I mean, you know, all gun possessions and crimes. They have the right to do that. Why Mozzy's went federal? Maybe he's a high-profile rapper. They wanted to get their hooks in him, you know. I don't know, but maybe they felt he would have beat it in the state on a legal search and seizure or something like that. Maybe he did beat it in the state. Maybe he did get a dismissal in the state and the feds doubled back and picked it up. You know, we don't know those circumstances.
Well, it says here he was pulled over by Culver City PD and the police smelled marijuana. Don't they always smell marijuana?
Oh, they always smell it, man.
They always smell it.
Man, I ain't smoked in 15 years and they tell me, man, we smell marijuana. Man, get out of here, man.
And then that gave them what's called the what is the term I'm looking for them to be able to search it? The
it's a fake consent, you know what I mean?
Probable cause.
Yeah.
It gave them the probable cause to search his vehicle, and they found a Glock 2.6 Gen 4 9mm caliber 16 round. Ooh, 16 rounds. That's
a lot. Yeah.
The 16 round.
That could be why it went federal.
The 16 round magazine is banned in California.
That's why I say that could be why it went federal. Yeah.
Yeah. So they found that a 9mm loop. I think they found 2 pistols and a personal amount of weed, a small amount of weed. That doesn't make the gun thing any worse, does it?
No. Now, if you had some pounds, they would have. That's when they would have hit him with the 924C. You protecting the drugs with the gun, and that's when the mandatory minimum come in. But since he had a smoking size sack, you know, they didn't figure that he was protecting, you know, the weed with the gun, you know.
Now his bail was $35,000. In the feds, you can still bond out using 10%, 1%, 5% and property, right?
Well, I'm thinking he didn't go straight to the feds. I'm thinking he went to the local police station as you usually do for a crime like that. You know, he probably bonded out from the local station.
Oh.
He probably got a letter. What happens is the state will dismiss the case. The feds will refile it. You know, so he might have. It's 2 ways they could have went about it. He could have bonded out from the state case. When the federals came and he showed up on time, they might have could have just said, "Hey, don't you know, we not gonna make you rebond out because it was obviously was out. It just happened in January 21, and he's just turning himself in. But you can bond out from the feds. A lot of people think you can't, but you actually can."
Yeah, it doesn't give us the details here. It just says that he got arrested in January 21. He posted $35,000 bail. He pled guilty in January 22, a year later, And in April, a judge sentenced him to 12 months, and he has just turned himself in July last month. So, 1 year for a gun. Some people would say that's not a normal gun sentence, and he's also a felon with a gun.
Right.
So, do you think 1 year is actually a sweetheart deal for a ex-felon with a gun?
Yeah, it is basically because it's just a simple possession. You know what I mean? And like I say, I don't know all the details of the case. But usually felons, the state would have gave you more than that. State would have gave you 3 years. You know what I mean? So I don't know how the feds picked it up, and but at the same time, Mozzy a millionaire. He could have had some of them high power lawyers walk in there and say he haven't been a felon for 15 years. You know what I mean? There's certain things that could have been said that we don't know the circumstances to, and he ended up with that year and a day.
Now, if he walked into on the prison yard at Victorville with a 1 year sentence for this pistol, assuming that his paperwork would have been requested by somebody just to make sure, right?
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. Mozzy fall under the B car, you know what I mean? So he definitely was going to be pulled up. If he was on the yard with me, I'd definitely, go give him dab, what's up, homie? You know what I mean? You out there spitting that shit, we definitely feel, you know what I mean? But on the flip side of it, just to keep it all the way G'd, you know what I mean? How did that thing go? How did that thing work out with you? Now, one thing about Mozzy a real hood dude. You know what I mean? He a real homie, and at the end of the day, he knows the dynamics of everything moving. You know what I mean? He talk about rats. He pushed the line that he pushed. For me, I don't have Mozzy doing nothing foul in order to get his year in a day, but at the same time, his paperwork would be checked like everybody else's.
Now, there's some real hungry people in the feds, and when they see someone like Mozzy walking in there, my guess is that some dudes are going to look at him as someone to take advantage of. Are you aware of these types of inmates, and is that a possibility for someone like Mozzy?
I mean, it's a possibility, but I don't got him being a buster either. You know what I mean? And then, like I say, he a blood. You know what I mean? So at the same time, he gonna have the same coverage as every other homie got. Now, it may be a homie begging from him. You know what I mean? But I don't got it's gonna be no homies just trying to super push a line on him. Homie, you better shoot some money to my books, because at the end of the day, that's a whole nother situation that the B car gotta handle too. Hey, homie, get off the homie. You know what I mean? If he decide to do something for you, okay, but at the end of the day, he don't owe the motherfucker nothing. You know what I mean? Now, I remember like when I had the Red Velvet and shit, I flew down Rapping Forte and them down from the Bay Area to perform at the club, you know what I mean? And when I was at Victorville, Rapping Forte pulled up on the yard. You know what I mean? But at the same time, he fall under the Bay. You know what I mean? They took him in. They had his back. You know what I mean? And he wasn't no buster. You know what I mean? He wanted to get down. He was gonna run his fades. You know what I mean? But you when you somebody, you protect it. When you from a gang or a neighborhood, or you protect. You got people. But just when you solo, you know what I mean? Michael Jackson hit the yard or something. It's just you. So then that's when the vulture's gonna come from every angle and holler at you.
So what was it like when Rapping Forte came up in there?
Rapping Forte a street nigga. You know what I mean? He shit, it wasn't his first time for one, and he ran his program like how he ran it. He wasn't on no nothing extra. You know what I mean? Plus, like he said, he a regular dude, and they had some real serious Bay cats, regulating shit. You know what I mean? So, they got him in there, and he was cool. He was straight, did the same shit everybody else did,
Yeah, I met him once right here in L.A. The homeboy Melvin Farmer from original West Side Crip, A-Tray Gangsta Crip co-founder, introduced me to him one day. I was surprised. I was like, what is this dude Rapping Forte doing over here in the A-Tray
Gangsta Hood, yeah.
But he looked like he wasn't doing that well, though. He looked a little like maybe drugs got the best of him.
Yeah, he had his ups and downs and shit. Like I say, when I got to messing with him, he was on the rebound. He had just put out a new album. I used to go out to the Valley, out there to Burbank, to the studios and fuck with him. You know what I mean? My homegirl they was tight. Her and him and my homegirl was tight. That's how I even got a line on him. And so I used to go out there and check him out. And he was definitely back on the rebound at that time, And but yeah, sometimes, man, you have ups and downs in these businesses, especially, acting, rapping, money don't come every day. You got to be putting them hits out. And then even when you put a hit out, it take months and months and months for the check to come. So, sometimes, shit get bad.
Yeah, man. I hope he's doing well wherever he's at. I might actually look him up and see how he's doing, or tap in with Melvin Farmer and see if he got a line on rapping Forte. But yeah, man, I was surprised. I was over there on Manchester, and I was just like, "What is this dude?" He was posted up with all the A trays.
No, no doubt. Like I say, he ain't no stranger to danger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, I had him in Compton up at the barbershop and shit. Him and Spice One and them, man, we up there smoking and drinking, and he wasn't no looking around, wasn't no, you know, he fit right in. You know what I mean? So yeah, shout out to old Forte, man.
And I know that there's some brothers that they love being in that element. They love being in those circles, as dangerous as those circles are. And you know, every once in a while, I like dabbling in them circles just because you know, I grew up with so many people that hang out in those circles. But you know, as I get older, I try to distance myself from some of them circles because I know how dangerous they can be and how spontaneous, you know, motherfuckers can be, you know?
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. You know what I mean? Like I say, my wife talks shit all the time about me, you know, because just at any given day, I'm going to pop up, you know, and it's crazy it is to say, but I'm at home where the shooters be. I'm at home where the thugs at. I'm at home where the riders are. You know, I feel comfortable, you know, anytime I'm around, you know what I mean? But at the same time, you know, when you are who you are, you know, some shit just never change, Alex, you know.
It's
some
crazy.
shit just never change. And I was just thinking real fast. I was just thinking about the person who hit that big lotto not too long ago. Do you know that for a person like me, you know, one of the hardest things would be not being able to move around like I move around, not being able to pull up to the DOs and not be able to jump out at Gonzalez or Ludus Park, or, you know what I mean? It's like the stuff you love, low riding it. You can't just hit Crenshaw no more by yourself, you know. It'll definitely make lives a little, it'll make it great, but it'll may also make it a little hard for the small stuff that you love, you know.
Yeah, I'm just surprised that people that have achieved a level of success and made some money, like someone like Rappin' Forte or Nipsey Hussle, even Chris Brown, you know, a couple of the homies tell me, you know, Chris Brown used to post up on the block and hang out for a minute, which is crazy because, you know, these people, they have a whole lot to lose messing around in the streets.
No shit. I mean, no doubt about it. But the thing about it is also this, you know, sometimes people, that feeling of when you in a group of homies or the group of crowd that you know that's you protected in it, you know what I mean, that anything moving, we on top of it, opposed to being around a bunch of industry cats that's, you know, not carrying it like that, or, you know, in all who you are and, you know, stuff like that, you know. I think sometimes when people get in that raw nature of them streets, man, you know, it's definitely a feeling that it's something that people have fell in love with, man, you know, myself included, and it's a little addiction, man, once you know, you be there too long, you know.
Yeah, I think at some point though, like people like Mozzy may have to reflect on it, and I know that there's a desire to you know, to have a gun, to be strapped, you know, and I wish that it was easier for people like Mozzy, even such as yourself that have felony convictions, to still be able to maintain a gun right, because, you know, sometimes we just don't feel comfortable without being strapped, and that's a fundamental American right, and it shouldn't land a brother in prison for a year if he wasn't doing anything wrong but just merely possessing it, you know.
No doubt, but this is the thing about it, Alice, even like in your home though now, even if you're not a felon, you know, these laws are so strict that a lot of people and a lot of homies in the hood don't even understand that your gun possession is the least of your worries. It ain't about, you know, I know it's about saving your life, but sometimes, man, you shooting somebody else. How can you prove that this dude pulled out a gun first and you got him before he got you and you at the park? You know what I mean? You still finna get your head busted protecting your own life. You know what I mean? And that's the whole thing about gun protection. It don't matter what kind of rights you got. You could be an American citizen. You know what I mean? You could have a concealed weapon. You still have to prove that somebody pulled out a gun and was harming your life in order for you to shoot them. So it ain't just all fine and dandy, even with having the gun rights. So that's why the homies that don't have gun rights and they carrying a pistol, that's not even on their calendar. That's not even in their brain, because if I got to shoot this dude, I don't need it registered and I don't need to be accounted for anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, on the flip side, they got laws in California to where if you in your home, somebody breaking your home, as soon as they kick your door in, you grab your pistol and they turn around and run out, but they still in your kitchen, and you shoot them in the back, they finna hold you liable for that. You know what I mean? And this person is in your house. white guy, old white lady, certain older black gentlemen can maybe get up out of that. A lot of young black men, you know what I mean? Any kind of record or any kind of blemish on your record, you finna be held accountable for that, no doubt.
Well, you remember Breonna Taylor's boyfriend in Kentucky when they that's how Breonna Taylor got killed. The police kicked the door in, and he started busting.
Yeah,
because he said they didn't announce themselves as police officers. And he shot one in the leg. They charged him with attempted murder on a police officer.
Yeah, man.
But they ended up dismissing all charges, though.
Okay, that's what's up.
So yeah, I was kind of disappointed. His name was Kenneth Walker. I was kind of disappointed that they charged him in the first place.
Well, you know, they're definitely going to do that. And if it probably wasn't for maybe body cams or somebody else corroborating that they came in unannounced, they may have still put it on him, you know. But I'm so glad that he was able to get from up under that, man.
Yeah, man. And I would do the same thing as Kenneth Walker did if anyone is coming through my door, banging it, hitting it. I'm not assuming that's the police because I'm not doing anything wrong deserving the police to come back, going through my door. And neither was Kenneth Walker. He wasn't a criminal. He was a working man.
Right.
So he thinks like, oh, shoot, you know, I got to defend myself.
No doubt. No, like I said, I'm happy he got from up under that because there's so many of us that wouldn't have, you know.
Yeah. And yeah, you got to be very careful when you have your gun. You know, when I go out and do these interviews and I'm out here in the trenches, there have been a couple times where I felt like I was going to have to shoot somebody, but that was the last thing that I wanted to do. I'm actually trying to avoid having to kill somebody. And I wish that I didn't have to be so careful about it because I know that I'm going to go to jail for a minute and I got to fight for the right of me doing what I did. But, you know, luckily, you know, I was able to get out of a couple situations, but I'm constantly thinking like, you know, I'm gonna have to sit in jail for a minute, even though I'm probably in the right and defending myself. Cause they're not just gonna say, oh, Alex, you was doing an interview. Oh, no problem. We won't let you go home. You know, even though you killed this 18-year-old kid on the block.
No doubt. And you never know the judge, who it was. You know, he might have been a judge or she might have been a judge who, you know, have heard of Mozzy before. She might have went and checked to see how many albums he done sold, you know.
Yeah.
She might have really checked to say, okay, this guy's a millionaire, so he must be a celebrity somewhere. And sometimes, you know, when you get that celebrity status, whether you're an ex-con or not, you still famous, you know, and you still, you know, want to protect your life. And you could sit there and say, you know, Your Honor, yes, I was wrong, but I still want to be alive, you know. And so, I mean, you never know. They could have took a lot of that into consideration, especially if he could have been donating to some foundations that we don't know about. He could have laid his resume out and said, Your Honor, I mean, I've been, you know, yeah, I make money off this gangster rap, but at the same time, I do have a family. I do other things I do. And they could have said, okay, you know, I am doing it legally, you know. And everybody don't want to have to hire a bodyguard or hire a gunman to be with him at all times, you know.
Hey, he's they got him in Atwater. Are you familiar with this federal facility?
No doubt. It's up north, straight up to 99, Atwater, California. They have a USP in the camp over there. Mozzy from Sac, so he not far from the, you know, where his folks are, you know. And he just put a brand new album out, you know, that got some heat on it. So he making money while he in there with his feet kicked up, man. So, you know, I ain't too much worried about it.
Now, it says here that Atwater has two facilities, a USP and a camp.
Yeah, that's the highest of the high and the lowest of the low.
That's kind of interesting that they would have two of these facilities right next to each other.
Well, actually, it's not. You know what I mean? Even most facilities have a camp in order to keep the grounds around the real prison tended to and stuff like that.
Say here, it just says he's at Atwater, and when you click on Atwater, it says USP Atwater, but then it also says camp, USP camp, and they got 900 inmates at the USP and about 100 inmates at the camp. So, and this is in Merced County. I've never been to Merced County, but where do you think they put him at for this gun case?
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised. I think they might have slid him in the camp. You know, his points could have been low. You know what I mean? He haven't been to prison before.
Well, he has a felony conviction,
But
so
he haven't been to the pen, I don't think.
okay, yeah,
I could be wrong, but I don't think he's been to the pen. And even or it's still the amount of time between those crimes. Because after 15 years, you know, you get points dropped for, you know, like when I was at Victorville, when I my robbery became 15 years old. I turned 36. I dropped a bunch of points fast, you know, and because of these factors. So he could be over there at the pen, you know. If he is, you know, that's a lot stressful situation to have a year and a day. You know, you got dudes over there doing life all day long. So I would be more inclined to say that he's over at the camp with that year and a day, just because putting him over there would probably cause more stress on the administration itself. You know what I mean? Being in these famous, being in these, you know, he have a few $1 million, you know, to put him over there with a year and a day and you got dudes in here with life, you know, I don't think they would have just did it like that.
Yeah, I'm looking on the map where Atwater is at, and I'm surprised at how close it is to the Bay Area.
Oh, no doubt. Like I said, I've been up there, actually been at that facility. You know, I had homies there.
And it's just south of Sacramento where he's from.
Right. So they put him right at home. You know what I mean? He got the whole. So I'm almost certain he over there at the camp chilling. You know, and
so this is a pretty good situation he's in. He's probably only in the camp, which is explain that for all our listeners, especially our listeners that are worldwide. What's the difference of being in a federal facility that's a camp and one that's considered a USP?
Well, the USP is the highest of the high. You're going to have lifer, you're going to have high-level criminals, you're going to have a lot of stabbing, you're going to have deaths, you're going to have, you know, the respect is at the utmost, you know, almost to the point to where it's hard to smile over there. You know what I mean? It's not a bunch of, you know, clowning, and ain't a bunch of, you know, it's a serious yard, you know. And on the flip side, the camp is everything opposite. You know, no fences around it. You may work somewhere in the city. You may drive a truck that go down to take the trash down to the city of Atwater's disposal site. You know what I mean? They trust you to do all this. You know, you driving around on forklifts at the camp and, you know, working on different things. So it's definitely, but the camp actually prepares you to go home. The USP is penitentiary style living, you know, 4-yard mentality is there, keeping a knife, you know, ready to put your life on the line or get your life took at any moment, every day, all day for years. And the camp is the total opposite, where you get to, you know, apply for your driver license, take classes and do certain stuff to get to the house, to get you prepared to come to the street. The visiting is even different, because even at the USP, the visiting is sit your ass in this chair, your family mate can go get you some chips and a soda, but sit down and don't move. The camp is where you can go outside, walk around with your family, play some catch with your kid, you know, it's just a totally different situation over there at the camp, you know.
I wonder what about your telephone privileges?
Telephone privileges is more or less like you got the same 300-400 minutes a month that everybody else have. It's just that everybody at a camp, damn, they got a cell phone anyway. So, you know, they go to work, probably got a cell phone stash somewhere at their job, you know, and they get it in. They having sex, and some of them they rocking and rolling. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, though, like I say, it's a good spot to go to on your way home, because it gets you used to being around people who like regular people. You know, it's rats down there, it's politicians down there, it's ex-mayors down there, you know, and you're going to run into all these people down there, and these people are regular citizens. They don't have the penitentiary views. They don't have the view. They'll tell on you in a minute. You know, you steal some food out the kitchen, they'll go tell on you. You know what I mean? But this is what happens in real life at your job. So that's why I say when it's getting you ready for the streets, it's really getting you ready for the streets, because you're around people that you have to tolerate, you know, and not, you know, do nothing to, and take the gang and prison politics out of it and just live regularly.
Now, one of my former co-hosts from the Gangster Chronicles ended up doing 24 months at Atwater Camp. Mm-hmm. He only ended up doing a year there. That was Reggie Wright Jr.
Oh, no doubt. He was over there chilling.
Yeah, he was.
Big chilling, big eating good. You know what I mean?
He was chilling.
Yeah, you know.
And I'm trying to think he even... He called me up a couple times. I had to put my phone number on a list.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff you can do via email also, which
no doubt.
I was surprised.
Actually, when I was at FCI Victorville 2, when they came with the email system, they brought it as a pilot program. Only Victorville 2 had it, and I believe somewhere in Terre Haute, might have had it. It was only 2 facilities in the whole Bureau of Prisons that had, and we were one of the first ones that able to try it out for them to get the kinks out and stuff like that. So I was doing emails and shit back in, shit, 05, 07, you know what I mean? Sending emails instead of writing letters.
Yeah, I didn't like, I remember when that happened, I felt like I didn't want to email no one in prison because now you have a digital permanent record of your communication. Not that I'm communicating anything crazy,
right?
But it's just that it's preserved, I believe, permanently.
Oh, no doubt. And every address that people put on a visiting form, every phone number that they put in those systems, they digitally have a record of all this. If you ever was to go on the run for a murder or something and the feds was to pick it up, guess what they're going to go look at? All this information. Every person that you put on their list for address to visit you, they may go not like raid these people's house, but they may watch these people's house to see if you show up. You know what I mean? So you're absolutely right. All the emails, addresses that they put into the system, they, know can go back and see exactly who these emails, Now, people can have fake emails, but that URL link can come, they can really trace that anywhere they want to. So you're absolutely right on that.
Yeah, but I remember that I saw footage of the CDC. They go through the mail. And from what I saw, they open up the envelope, they look at the letter, and they make sure there's no drugs or anything in it. Then they put the letter back in to give it to the person. I'm sure now they may copy the letter and save the letter, but I knew that for a long time they just wanted to make sure there was no drugs and nothing in the envelope that the inmate was not supposed to have, and then they just give the letter to the inmate. Do you know anything about how they check physical mail?
Oh, yeah, it's just like you said. They still check the physical.
But do they make copies like, okay, we're going to copy this letter?
Well, you know what? From my understanding, because I done had homies called up there to the lieutenant's office. Lieutenant office actually had a letter, a copy of their mail or outgoing, and you wrote some offensive stuff. You wrote some stuff that could be threatening. Somebody wrote some stuff to you that may be compromising a facility as far as they made it seem like, well, I'm going to bring that. Well, you mean bring what? You know what I mean? And to be honest with you, it's 1,000 inmates on the yard. They not reading everybody mail.
Yeah.
But once you get under they radar, say somebody come tell you the tobacco man, now they finna start copying your mail, reading your shit. You know what I mean? I remember one time I went to visit and it's a CO booth that's in the visiting room, and then you have the whole rest of the visiting room. So one time, man, for about a month straight, man, they made me sit right in front of the CO's booth, almost to where they can hear my conversation, with my family. So, I had been there for a while. The COs know me. I'm like, man, why what's the problem, man? Why am I sitting here? And I'm sitting right up under a camera, Why am I sitting here? You know what I mean? They like, man, Thornton, you know what's up. I don't. Because I'm not the man. In my mind, I'm saying it ain't me. It's cool for somebody else getting some cracker, because I take the, keep your eyes on me, because I ain't doing shit. But at the end of the day, man, they made me, for about a month straight, they made me sit right in front of that booth, right under the camera, But I guess they may have thought I was doing something suspicious. I don't know.
Yeah. The paper mail or the physical mail, I guess they can make a copy of it and save it, but I doubt they're going to go through every single inmate, copy the letter, and then scan it and save it digitally. That's just too much work.
No, that's too much work. But see, everybody emailing now. So what they doing with the email is, when you send an email to me in prison, I don't get that email until somebody reads over it or scans over it. Some COs don't read that shit, press forward, and send you your shit. They there to do a job, and they ain't finna do all that. They don't got. Some COs don't want to write you up for a banana or an onion that you're not supposed to have, because now they got to do some paperwork. You know what I mean? They might take it, or they might be like, man, don't do nothing. You feel me? So some people are going to read your every word on your email coming in, want to know all your business. You know what I mean? I know some females that worked at these prisons, and for them it was like, a drama class. They want to read everybody. They want to see what everybody got going on. You know what I mean? So
yeah, man. So Mozzy's gonna get out. Oh, I have Mozzy's release date here. It's July 23rd, 2023. So it's actually a little bit shorter than the year because it's 85%, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's a funny line that Mozzy had in one of his songs. He said, the Fed sent me to the pen. It was only right. I got a kite from everybody that was supposed to write.
Hey, I wonder if he needs anyone to put money on his books, being that he's a celebrity.
Mozzy in there straight,
nah,
man. Shit.
He good, yeah. Good. All right. Last thing I want to talk about, man, is this whole issue with my main man, American Cholo, Gil from North Hollywood, and he's kind of got into a conflict with Adam 22 from No Jumper, but it starts with it starts with Gil's his critique of Tyga's video "Ay Caramba."
No doubt, no doubt. Tyga did the video, Ay Caramba. I hadn't seen it for a while to understand what was disrespectful about it. I did finally watch it, see where they were coming from, and then I did listen to a few comments. First, I didn't really get it. And then when Gil put it in a perspective, like, okay, well, what if this was fried chicken? Or what if these were watermelons that they were sitting out and doing certain stuff like that? And then it clicked on me and said, okay, I got it. Because I don't know the Mexican heritage or all the, the Mexican things that where they feel disrespected, and that's just because I didn't know, you know what I mean? But Tyga definitely addressed it, and Gil was, he was upset with it. He kind of took to the forefront on it and said something, and then people had words to say to him as well.
Yeah, I was actually surprised that Tyga took time out of his schedule to do a sit down with basically Tyga. Gil to Tyga is just a dude on YouTube. He's a YouTuber. He ain't like a journalist that's well known. It's not like the network news. It's nothing on a national level. It's a guy that's doing a YouTube channel from a room in his house.
Well, the thing about it is more or less like this, though. Gil did take for me to see it, I saw Gil first say it. I saw American Cholo say it first. He was pushing a line on it. I don't know how they hooked the meeting up, but Tyga did say that he did have other people saying that they felt disrespected as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Gil knew somebody at the radio station who hosted it and was able to slide up in there, or they felt that, okay, man, Gil represents the Southsiders who pushing the line the hardest. Let's try to go through him to, clear something up,
Do you think Tyga decided to sit down with American Cholo because he is a Southsider or former Southsider, and he does have a lot of ties with Southsiders? Because if that's the case, then maybe Tyga felt a little nervous to ignore all these Southsiders. I have to address them. I have to at least speak to somebody, and that's why he chose to speak to American Cholo.
I felt that way. I felt that he, of course, man, you don't want to be riding around, man, and you have a whole race, that feels some kind of way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they say, they felt he knew exactly what he was doing, or somebody should have told you that this was disrespectful. Somebody in your camp should have said that this wasn't cool, so yes, he felt that he was obligated to talk to somebody. How he got to American Cholo, I don't know, but maybe it's because, Gil is also in the heated situation with the Cartoon from Fire Trey Avalon. Cartoon is on his ass about him, having racial undertones. Cartoon did see the video that Adam 22 posted, of him saying, some stuff that was clipped together that made it seem like, he was racist. I have talked to Gil personally before. He seemed like a cool guy, but at the same time, you never really know a person's inside. And for people that I know, after I started looking around and say, hey, man, is Gil, I don't watch American Cholo like that. What y'all feel about Gil? They be like, nah, man, he be on that bullshit. He be on that racist shit, man, Now, it is a difference between prejudice and racist.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you say somebody prejudiced, that's just kind of basically you're for your race. I'm for black people. That don't mean I'm racist. You know what I mean? So some people can misconstrue that. I don't have enough information on Gil to know personally what he is, but Cartoon on his ass and is not letting up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, what happened was after Tyga and American Cholo had their conversation, Tyga agreed to bring the video down or take the video off the internet, which I was surprised that he would do that. But again, maybe he's a little concerned to have a whole bunch of Southsiders offended by it. But then Adam 22 posted a video of American Cholo apparently saying some racist stuff, but it was actually a video that Tariq Nasheed edited together, and Adam 22 just reposted it. So now you said that Cartoon is on his head, But also Tariq Nasheed is on American Cholo's head because Tariq Nasheed thinks American Cholo's racist. American Cholo saying that Tariq Nasheed is a black supremacist. So they're both they're accusing each other of the same thing basically.
Yeah, let me tell you those what I didn't care for. I didn't know Tariq Nasheed had kicked it off basically with the video, and Adam reposted it. I didn't know none of that. What I did see though was when Cartoon got on Gilhead, how all these other South started to start voicing their opinion. How they start coming in and start talking about racial situations. Hold on. Cartoon said what he said to American Cholo. He didn't say it to all the Southsiders. He didn't speak on the Southsiders, or the Serranos as a whole. He spoke on Gil, and I immediately saw Southsiders jump in and start, coming out. I don't know if they was doing it for views. I don't know if they was doing it for news. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna be honest with you, Alex. I saw people speaking up that wasn't even your situation, bro. Let Gil handle his situation, And I did see that, So I won't let that go without being said. But I believe everybody kind of got together, spoke, and had some kind of understanding of what they meant by everything, because sometimes, like I say, if I would have saw the video first that Tariq and she posted, I probably would have said, "Damn, Gil," you know what I mean? Yeah. So I get it.
But he edited it in a clever way to strip it of its context and to make Gil look a certain kind of way, which was a misrepresentation of what Gil was saying in the first place. So to a certain degree, Tariq Nasheed, I don't know how to say it, but he kind of smutted him a little bit, if that's a good way to put it. So now American Cholo's on the defense trying to explain that, go back and listen to the whole thing. It was a story, and in the context of the story, the N-word came up. Not me just saying, I don't just say the N-word like that. So I think that Gil got a little bit of the short end of the deal on that representation.
Well, I've heard other people say that they don't say the word period, so they don't get caught up like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I did hear, and these were a few, essays. Say, dude, that's why I don't even say it, because people can take you out of context. People can, now on the flip side, I'm not saying Gil was wrong per se, but some of his responses that I saw, was more or less like, well, fuck it, what y'all want to do type responses. You know what I mean? And we see shit like that. You know what I mean? And it may be nothing to be spoke on, but we see what we see, homie. Yeah. You know what I mean? And we everybody got a mouth. Everybody can speak on what they speak on. But when I'm talking about me, I'm talking about me. You're not going to hear me say we unless it has to be a we. If I got a situation with this dude, it's not no we. It's a me and you. If I got a situation with you and 10 dudes, it's a me and y'all. You know what I mean? So sometimes I pay attention to that we when you talking about an individual situation. So people out there saying we, understand if it's just you and somebody else, we listening, man. But yeah, it was an unfortunate situation that happened, but it definitely blew up from different angles.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, I've had plenty of debates with American Cholo. I've been on his show at least twice, maybe 3 times, and we've done what you would call like through the internet, where we both got on the video together and had debates. And I will say that a lot of American Cholo's views are a bit conservative. Normally, dudes that are from the streets, former gang members, don't think as conservatively as he does, but that's how he thinks. He's extremely conservative. He has very little patience for drug addicts, for even violence from gang members, which is surprising because Gil went to YA for committing, lots of violence.
Right.
But now he doesn't have the patience for understanding why people commit violence. So yeah, he's definitely went the more conservative route. But I don't think I would call him a racist. But I do understand if there's some brothers out there that are feeling a certain kind of way from some of the things that Gil says, no doubt.
But no, like I say, and you definitely have people who feel how they feel. Like I say, I listen to Cartoon and listen to different people come on. Even the essays, I listen to them. They're all not Gil fans as well. It's not just, blacks that's against him. You know what I mean? It's people that don't line up with Gil, but I hear the same thing. They're saying that people that really know him, he's not, a racist, but he's definitely for his race. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's definitely for La Raza, as they say. And what's interesting is that apology that Tyga gave to American Cholo on Power 106 after Tariq Nasheed's video got reposted on Adam 22. I believe they took the video down because it didn't look good. It looked like Tyga's issuing an apology for racial stereotypes against a guy who now has a video circulating saying racist statements.
Right,
so
right.
It's like a little mess right now, man.
Hey, man, but you know what? That's how fast shit kick off. And that what goes to show that sometimes, you know, people can do stuff. And be honest with you, Gil kicked this off. He kicked this off with getting at Tyga the way he got at him. You know what I mean? Not faulting him for that or nothing like that. I'm not saying that it's his fault or nothing. I'm just saying when he spoke about the situation, it blew up, you know, from Gil's camp. So when you do something that bring light to your camp, people are going to start dissecting you and your channel and your situation. And when they find something in your channel, you know, there's people still out there right now looking for FG, looking for something, you know, with some smut on me or something, with some dirt or something they could talk about.
They can't find nothing.
And they can't, man, they looking for nothing, man. But it happens. We all are accountable for what we say. So, like I say, unfortunately, it blew up and it took some turns, but I believe it's all coming in now. But I believe people will be looking at Gil's channel to see if they catch him, you know, with some undertones that they don't like. It may not even be wrong, but just something they don't like. And now it's going to be another topic, you know.
Well, Adam 22 took the video down that he reposted because he actually stated, he agreed that it was taken out of context and it was unfair. But he also said that Gil used this term, ghetto coon. He was referring to Tariq Nasheed as a ghetto coon. But Gil's response was that Tariq Nasheed has responded to him as a Mexicoon, meaning like the way I'm calling Gil conservative. Tariq Nasheed is not going to hold back no word.
Right.
He called him a Mexicoon, which is just probably a more disrespectful way of saying a Latino guy that's conservative. You know.
Well, let me ask you this, and I know everybody, and I'm not asking you, I'm making a statement. I know what Gil part was it. I know it. Tariq Nasheed part in it. I see how Cartoon felt, you know what I mean, and all this. But, you know, because he felt Gil used the coon word. I see how the blacks came in and said, Cartoon specifically. What the hell did Adam 22 had to do with it? You know what I mean? So when they go to that term, you know, you doing it, they got situations that they talking about and arguing about or beefing about. You got doing it for views, Adam. You know what I mean? Or you doing it for what they be calling this clout shit, dude. Your white ass didn't have nothing to do with these situations. I don't believe that he should have posted that unless he wanted some smoke. And guess what? He got a little bit of it. So he brought that on himself.
100. There are certain issues that a platform creator, a platform producer should not even meddle in. You don't want to be in a position to where you have to delete something because you made a mistake. Do your interviews. That's you have an interview platform, but he's dabbling into news and using his words, he called this newsworthy, so that's why he posted it. But yeah, there's certain things that you should just stay away from so that you don't have to deal with the streets. Because look, he had about 30, 40, 50 Southsiders pull up on him.
No doubt, you know what I mean? And he had no answer for it. So if you don't got no answer for it, man, shut your ass up sometime. But, you know, like you say, some people will speak and, you know, speak larger than their ass can handle, you know.
Yeah, we're about to wrap up this episode, but I wanted to ask you, what did you think about, I don't know if how this happened, but Gil showed up. He's also with another guy from Pico Rivera named Bozo. I believe was his name Bozo? But they showed up like 30, 40, 50 deep to address the video that Adam 22 posted. Why such a show of force just to address an issue?
I believe Gil might have thought it was a power move. You know, technically it wasn't. In my opinion only, wasn't a power move. Gil could have went up there and got at Adam 22 and said straight up, homie, man, you can get down. But, you know, straight up. Yeah. You know what I mean? Adam might have said, security, please get this man. But at the same time, homie, this issue is between me and you. This is where the we come back in. You know what I mean? Because everywhere you know, some places you bring 40, 30 homies to, it's gonna be an issue because somebody else gonna call they homies, you know. But at the end of the day, that's what he chose to do. I can't knock what his decision was. He didn't need that kind of force to go to Adam, I believe, you know. And that's how I felt about that.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think it's an interesting topic because this all started with Tyga's Ay Caramba video, which I actually agreed that he used a lot of racial stereotypes in that video, from the Tabasco sauce to the tortilla chips to the fat Mexican to the car salesman to the lucha libre guy. It was a little too much, but I'm not Mexican. But I try to put myself in the Mexican shoes to
try to visualize. Yeah.
But I could actually just laugh at the video and play it and enjoy it also, you know?
Me personally, like I say, maybe I didn't see the disrespect. I didn't see too much. But once they said it, I got it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But on the flip side of going back to Gil bringing all those guys up there, he also showed his hand too, though, Alex. You know what I mean? So if he's talking peace and he's talking, men should be able to talk it out. Two men should be able to talk it out. I have heard him use those terms. You didn't bring two men, bro. You brought 40, you know.
Yeah.
You know. And that's how it was.
Yeah, you don't need to show up 50 deep at no jumper. But at the same time, he has cats there from real areas working with him. So
no doubt. You know what I mean? But I think it was excessive.
Yeah.
You know.
All right, man. Well, let's just wrap up this episode of Streets and Scholars, man. You got anything popping on the YouTube FG Unleashed?
You know what? At this moment, I'm struggling, man. You know what I mean? I'm struggling to hang in there with me. You know, I guarantee I'm gonna put something out and start doing things, and I just don't cover everything. But at the same time, some things are worthy to be spoke on. You know what I mean? Actually, I got a video I'm gonna post about the mystical situation. You know,
I wanted to talk about it, but we don't got time.
Right. Yeah. Not about this specific situation, but people in those situations. But what I did want to say, Alice, before we go, I wanted to say it at the beginning, and I forgot. Man, we lost a real solid soldier, man, that I just wanted to give a shout out to, man. It's the homie Baby Sam out of Pacoima. And he was a real thorough general, man. And, you know what I mean? Good homie, solid. And I just wanted to say rest in peace. We lost him in a motorcycle accident, man. And he just came home 2 months ago, you know. And we just wanted to say rest in peace. My condolences to him and his family and the Pacoima homies. You know what I mean? Rest in peace, Baby Sam, man.
All right, man. Rest in peace to Baby Sam. Shout out to his family. And lastly, I think you should get back to telling some of those stories that you originally started off telling on your channel. And I thought the story you was telling me off camera when you had to drive a truck to
that water, yeah.
That's a hell of a story right there.
On Fed paper, pulling it to the prison and shit.
Yeah, I don't know how comfortable you are telling that one.
Right. No, so I'm good now. But I definitely got them. I got a million of them.
Yeah, you got a bunch of stories. I think people want to hear the stories, man.
Okay.
Hey, tap in with FG on his Instagram and tell him you want to hear some stories. The Instagram is FGeneral1. The YouTube channel is FG Unleash. Tap in with me, Alex Alonso 101. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and of course the Street TV YouTube channel is always popping. And thanks for tapping in with another fire episode of Streets and Scholars.